Hello and welcome to my nightmare. Let me explain. If you follow the channel for a while, you'll know that when it comes to UniFi, my big interest for this brand is their ever-growing world of network-attached storage. However, realistically, this is a brand that has had its toes dipped in the sea of storage for years with their UNVR solutions. And although I haven't spoke that much about their UNVRs, I'm pretty bloody familiar with them, notwithstanding because I've used Protect in my personal and professional life for years, but also because I've been involved with or adjacent to numerous UNVR installations. Now, with that in mind, when I heard there was going to be a new UNVR G2 series, it wasn't that I wasn't excited, but I was like, yeah, it's a refresh. Yeah, it's an upgrade. It's a little tiny upgrade in line with the current times. And I didn't pay it much heed. And then I found out the price. For those that don't know, the original 1U 4-bay retails for $299, and the UNVR Pro 7-bay device, again 7 bays, is $499. So what's the beef? Well, the G2 series is rocking out at $699. That is effectively twice and a bit more than the standard 4-bay, and the G2 Pro model is rocking out at $999, double that of the original Generation 1. This video is my descent into madness as I started trying to figure out why, because that price increase isn't just a little, it's a lot. And once you look at the rest of the UniFi range, for example, the network video recorder Instant, stylized I think on the UniFi Dream Gateway, that is a little chunkier I might add, $199. That has a SATA storage bay. It's got 6 PoE ports, an HDMI out, a quad-core processor, 4GB of RAM, supports 15 HD cameras, 8 2K cameras and 6 4K cameras there. It's a decent little box. That's $199. How on earth is the G2 and the G2 Pro commanding this massive price increase? And that's what today's video is about. So let's get the obvious surface level shizzle out the way. Both the G2 and the G2 Pro are arriving with nearly identical storage configurations as their predecessor, with the 4-bay still having 4 bays and the 7-bay now being upgraded to an 8-bay configuration. Those are SATA storage bays there. Alongside that, these devices have both got 10 gig network in there over SFP, but they've upgraded the 1 gig NIC to 2.5 gig NIC. Big whoop. However, what has been added on the surface level is an HDMI output. It means that you can connect this device to a visual display, something that was weirdly absent in the original UNVR solutions. This display can be utilised much like the UniFi viewport, which already retails for about $199. That allows you to turn an NVR network setup into a HDMI output display there on the outside. This is integrated into the system, which means on top of the UNVR, you got your visual display showing all your lovely camera feeds. But that's still $199 for the viewport. We still haven't made up that bunch yet, have we? Okay, what about the CPU? That's normally a really obvious sign of refreshing between generations and normally where the bunts is. Well, I'm pleased to say in the case of the G2 series, there has been a CPU scale up, quite notably as well. Rather than the quad-core ARM processor of the predecessor, this one scales up towards a Qualcomm Kryo on an ARM Cortex base, an 8-core processor there. So you've got one heavy prime core alongside 4 performance cores and 3 efficiency cores there, and it's normally the other way around. So already you've got a very well tooled CPU there to get the job done, and obviously integrated graphics thanks to that visual output being necessary. This isn't your common garden ARM processor. But notably, and definitely another area where the extra money has come in here, is to do with the RAM. I don't know if you've looked out a window recently, RAM costs a lot. And right now, these devices rocking out with 16 gig of LPDDR memory there. So 16 gig scaling up from the 8 before. Both of these devices are scaling up the memory notably, and that already, alongside that CPU scale up, I do think makes up for a few more $100 here on the pile. But it doesn't seem to end there. You see, these days, the demands people have for their NVRs have changed a great deal. And I'm sorry to say those 2 little letters, but AI. People, when they have recordings going on 24/7, when they have them going on for weeks, months or years at a time, they don't want to have to waste their time looking through it. And therefore, AI assistance in surveillance has now become the standard, whether that is AI integration on the local system or AI integration on the edge. Now, the UNVR system has a great little CPU inside there, but you know what else is inside there? One of these. Not one of these, literally, this is the AI key from UniFi. The AI key retails for about $799. This effectively allows an AI agent gateway onto your surveillance. It sits there, and rather than using traditional AI tools on a NAS or on the edge camera that recognises people, recognises vehicle, recognises cats and dogs, etc., this allows you to use human language to go through your previous recordings. Not to be disguised, by the way, with the AI port. The AI port is a device that you can attach onto an existing camera to give a dumb camera AI capabilities. AI Key is about providing on-site AI assistance, but also taking advantage of large language models for you to look through for purely unique instances of retrieval. If you're looking for a very specific instance in your database of recordings that only human language is going to allow you to search for, such as a certain person doing a certain thing in a certain location, that is where things like the AI Key come in. And thanks to that CPU scale up and the additional memory, this is integrated within the G2. Now remember, that was $799, which was already more than the G2. The point I'm making is the G2 series, it is, of course, made up by the increase in memory. It's made up by the slight increase of the network connection from 1 gig to 2.5 gig, and indeed that CPU scale up. But more notable than anything else, it is the integration of that AI key into the UNVR, turning it into kind of an AI assisted in and out surveillance solution. Now, who am I, some YouTube knobber, to tell you that we need to ram AI into everything? I know we don't have to do that, but I think in the world of surveillance, realistically, we are past the point where it is not a standard feature that is required there. We've got cameras running 24/7. We live in, unfortunately, a surveillance society for good and for bad. And with that in mind, the ability to be able to crawl through our recordings with ease and more importantly, with human language on something like the G2 is going to be appealing. But I'll go one step better than that. If you are someone that's moving to a new site that already has a pre-existing surveillance setup, or you're migrating from it over to UniFi and you want to go more granularly, not only does Protect in the new 7.1 version have enhanced support of ONVIF cameras, whether that is for motion and audio detection, which have been improved upon with third-party ONVIF, so you can still use those old recordings, the old recording equipment in place as you slowly migrate over, but moreover, the G2 will allow you to use those dumb camera feeds, those old legacy camera feeds, into this new box. The G2 is a bridging device, but it is a device that's been scaled up notably towards AI features, hence that price tag. But the bottom line is, do I think the price increase between what we're going to call the G1 and now the G2 is justified? And I will say, for the most part, yeah. When you look at the bells and whistles that are being integrated now in 2026 and the cost of certain components, it makes a lot of sense. The reason I say pretty much makes sense is because I really hope that UniFi continue to keep the UNVR 4-bay and the UNVR Pro 7-bay available, because AI isn't going to be for everyone. I know I want it in my surveillance, but not everybody does. And the fact that you can still get a UNVR and a UNVR Pro and then add things like the AI port, like the AI key, like the view port there, and add things on more granularly is what I've always enjoyed about UniFi, with gradual and dissected migration being possible. And as long as these elements still exist, the G2 for me as the complete package does make a huge amount of sense. And even at that price point, I would argue desirable. But let's talk about it more in the comments. If you do want to get hold of a G2 or G2 Pro, please use the links in the description in order to do so. It supports what we do here at the channel. And again, Doesn't cost you anything extra. It allows creators like Nas Compares, just myself and Eddie here, to keep doing what we do. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.